Yesterday, here's how they finished. Thomas Bezerra with quick time, a 1:13.568 over Mark Scaife, who won everything at Amaroo. Third was John Bow, the first of the Falcons, followed by Jimmy Richards and Dick Johnson in car number 17. But of course, that changes on a Sunday morning with the running of the Peter Jackson Dash, dominated totally last weekend by Mark Scaife. Well, today, of course, the draw was very, very important in terms of Thomas Bezerra with quick time. Didn't work out that way. Not too well for Thomas Bezerra. It was John Bow who came out well, pulled the number one, and had a big smile all over his face. And we joined Andy Raymond with John Bow at the winner's circle.
We saw what Mark Scaife did after drawing one last week. You're in the hot seat.
Well, Amaroo, there's nowhere to pass. Here there is, but still, it's better than drawing six, that's for sure.
And Glenn Seaton can be happy he's finally starting where he qualified.
Isn't that amazing?
The lineup for the Dash. John Bow has now drawn pole position. That's how he qualified yesterday. Sharing the front row will be Mark Scaife. Thomas Bezerra will now start out of position number 3, and Dick Johnson in the Shell Falcon out of 4. And from 5, it'll be Peter Brock in car number 05 and Jimmy Richards in car number 6. Well, we have the cars going around behind the pace car, but dramas here at Sandown because Mark Scaife, who won the Peter Jackson Dash and the entire show at Amaroo Park, his engine has failed to fire and the car is now being pushed up the pit lane. He missed out on 3 points yesterday. This could be a very valuable setback to Mark Scaife. Here's the field now, nice and tight behind the pace car. John Bow in the front row by himself with Dick Johnson on the outside of Thomas Bezerra in the second row. It is going to be a slow start, and I think the pace car will pull off to the left, or to the right rather, which he does. And John Bow gets a screamer off the start, but look at Brock down the inside. And Dick Johnson is 3 wide. There's only room there for 2 as they make it into the first left-hander. It is going to be fairly tight here. John Bow is off and running like the wind.
Here's it white. Peter Brock trying to squeeze up the inside of Thomas Bezerra there off the line. Did a great job when they hit the button, but he's getting pushed back behind Bezerra now. And Dick Johnson getting very, very sideways on his race rubber. That won't be a good move. Jim Richards sneaks up the inside meanwhile and gives Johnson a slow run onto the straight the first time.
Well, every point counts in a championship, Mark, and these fellows are going for 3-2-1 in that order. With Mark Scaife out of the equation this morning, unfortunately, a stalled engine on the line before the dash.
Well, we take the Dunlop race cam as we run up to the back of the straight here, and here's the view from the back of the field. It's a little more pleasant if you're John Bow at the front of the field. So the 2 Shell FAI cars are running first and last, and I think Johnson would like to correct that. He sits in behind Jimmy Richards, can't do much about it. But Bow has got an incredible record here at Sandown. In fact, won the Dash back here in 1992. And if my memory serves me correctly, almost clean house there that particular day as well.
Peter Brock will be most happy this morning, getting up into 3rd spot here and getting 2nd row for the start.
1 lap to go. John Bow leads into the left-hander. There's Scaife's car back behind the 7 Sport sign, and there's Scaife walking up the pit lane.
It's a very impressive turn of speed from the Shell Fords. Johnson with a brand new car for 1994. John Bow driving last year's version, considerably updated for 94. And boy, haven't they got some speed on here at Sandown.
See them all picking up the inside rears as they head through that turn. Now, Johnson's a little closer if he sits in the draft here. I'm not quite sure if anyone wants to
pull over.
No one's going to pull over, but if he gets a slingshot at them here. But Bow has decimated this field. He got off the start beautifully, and Johnson got himself caught way too wide on the outside and had them all up the inside of him.
Keep in mind, these 5 guys are using their race rubber at the moment. This is the tyres that are going to have to carry them through 2 heats here at Sandown later in the day. They're trying desperately not to lock up their brakes or burn them up before the event finishes.
Well, the points have been so evenly split this weekend. It was different last weekend where we had Mark Scaife, as I said earlier, 3 points for the championship through fast time. He dominated the Peter Jackson Dash on the Sunday morning. But Bow's going to get up and get 3 big ones here today because he comes down the start-finishing line now. The checkered flag is out. John Bow and the Falcon wins the Dash this morning. 2nd spot will go to Thomas Bezerra, 3rd to Peter Brock, 4th to Jim Richards, and 5th spot goes to Dick Johnson. I think a fairly happy John Bow. Let's go down to AJ.
Thanks, Mike. And the Mark Scaife with a flat rear tyre certainly made it that little bit easier from the start, John Bow.
Well, yeah, obviously I had a bit of a break then, which is great. I mean, it's always nice to win something. So I feel sorry for Mark, but I mean, he's got the runs on the board so far. I still think that he's the guy to beat.
And why would